Come with us now, if you dare, down a rickety staircase into a dank, dark basement. What awaits? The Saturday Night Freak Show.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Saturday Night Freak Show podcast.
Leave it in.
The movie review and talk show podcast that comes your way every Saturday, whether you're ready for it or not, because we're on a quest to conquer the world. These are the internet radio superstars.
Michaela.
Sean.
And I'm Colin. And tonight we watched a movie that was chosen by
You.
God damn it.
Less enthusiastic than it was last week.
Right. It's like
Yeah.
you.
Well, we had a listener. This is Listener Choice Month.
Yes,
We put a bunch of movies. Well, we asked you to suggest a bunch of movies. You did. Then you voted on them, and now we're going through and watching the 4 top movies that you suggested. So the third most requested movie for us to watch this year was
Terrifier 2.
Mm-hmm.
from the year
2018?
No, 2022.
Was? Oh, it
This
was.
is
The
a
first
sequel.
one was
2022.
Yeah.
before
This is
that.
the sequel.
and directed by
Damien Leone.
who we know from.
Terrifier and All Hallows Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did this? So we were like, this is.
Okay. Well, let's describe the world we live in now.
Yeah.
Terrifier 3 has come out. Just came out for the Christmas season.
Yeah.
And
Well, it came out of Halloween, I think, right?
it came
Yeah,
out
it
Halloween,
did, yeah.
to go
But
into
it was
the
in
Christmas season.
theaters for like 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just kept going.
So
Unstoppable.
we have reached peak popularity of Art the Clown and Terrifier, I would say.
Terrifier 3,
Terrifier
which
3.
I have not seen.
Have not seen either.
have not seen.
Okay. Was made for $2 million, and it has grossed $90 million at the box office.
It was the highest grossing horror movie of the year until Nosferatu came out. So it almost made it
Wow.
being the highest grossing horror movie of the
Yeah,
year,
but I'm
which
sure
is
like
fucking
its
crazy.
cost to, take ratios, like, I mean, what? It's $88 million
Right.
profit.
Insane.
Just
Jason Blum is... wait, this isn't a Blumhouse movie.
there.
right?
No.
No.
But Jason Blum is so mad
So
right
pissed.
now.
Punching
He
holes
could have
in the
had
wall.
this. He could have had this, and he didn't, and he doesn't. That is the thing that is beloved about this franchise, right? Is how independent it is, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
the first one was a completely independent production that I read was like $150,000 budget or something like that. Really
If
cheap
that.
for the
This
first
one
one.
that we just
Yeah.
watched,
$250.
$250,000.
I
That's-
mean, man, you do see all of it on screen.
You
They
see
do get their
all of
mileage.
it
Yeah.
on screen.
And it made
That's 15 million.
15 million.
That's what I was
but I
gonna
mean,
say.
even then, so it's like
Yeah.
there was a setup here.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is a cultural zeitgeist moment.
Yes.
What is the appeal of the Terrifier movies? You've now seen one. You guys haven't seen the other ones?
No.
Have not.
Okay,
I've seen like 30 minutes of the first one. I really tried with that first one and I quit.
Yeah.
So
All right, so I have seen more than you. Then
Mm-hmm.
I saw Terrifier
mhm.
Okay.
because people were talking. I became aware of it. Right, there was like chatter, Terrifier, and you became aware of like Art the
Of
Clown.
Art the
Clown,
But then
yes.
I was like, there wasn't this something like before this? Like I remember his face on a video box or something, and it was a movie called All Hallows Eve,
Mhm.
which has the same guy. And I'm like, isn't that Art the Clown? This is and so yeah, there's a movie called All Hallows Eve, which I have seen.
Mhm.
Anthology movie?
It's an anthology.
Mhm.
Okay. All done by Damien Leone, though?
Yes.
Okay.
So he made a short film, I think called The Ninth Circle, if I remember correctly, which had a character in it that he designed
Mhm.
called Art the Clown. Damien Leone is a special effects guy,
Mhm.
or that I think was his primary passion in life.
Yeah.
And then he made a short film, and the short film, I believe, was seen, like he uploaded it to YouTube, right? And some producers saw it and said, hey, let's expand this into like a bigger movie. He had made like, I think, was there 3 short films?
I think
One
so.
of them was called Terrifier, but
Mhm.
somehow he put all 3 of those together into a movie called All Hallows Eve.
Mhm.
Right.
And that was distributed on video, right? And streaming.
Yep.
And then they took the character from that, Art the Clown, and made the movie Terrifier, which
Mhm.
was like an expansion of it,
Yep.
right? And that was popular enough that here in 2022, we got Terrifier 2, with a bigger budget, Indiegogo funding, like crowdfunded, people put their money into it. Bloody Disgusting picks it up, right? They are the production company on it. That's the website, Bloody Disgusting.
Perfectly titled.
And it was released Fathom Events, I think, and like ended up playing more than once because it was popular. And then that gave us Terrifier 3 now, which became like, and I mean, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a legitimate like phenomenon.
I feel like for the past 5 years of my life, I have always heard about a Terrifier movie in production. Like, it feels like it's been nonstop news for years that, Terrifier 2 is happening now. Here's the latest from Terrifier 2. And then, like, the news cycle of Terrifier is more than I can take.
Yeah, I wouldn't, for me, it doesn't feel like 5 years. But yeah, like the last 3 years, it's just like a little bit of Terrifier, a little bit of Terrifier. Like, it sneaks into the news.
Stops,
you're just like, okay. Just like, and then I think one time I ended up seeing the bedroom scene kill from this. I'm like, this is not for me.
But how can a movie with such thin lore and plot generate so much press? Like, what is there to report on? Because there's no content to the movie itself, is how I feel. This is all so much more two-dimensional than I expected.
It's the shock. This just shocked a generation of people.
Yeah. I guess you're onto something there.
It
feels like.
Well, you said generation because, like, we have seen some stuff. You know, we've
seen Ilso, She-Wolf of the SS.
Yep. We had Lucio Fulci. We had Cannibal Holocaust.
Yep.
We had, I mean, even when you go back and look at like A Nightmare on Elm Street and Hellraiser, those were hardcore fucking horror movies.
Yeah.
When they came out,
Yeah,
but even still into the aughts, we had all the torture porn stuff in the Saw movies, and I guess there is nothing like that else in the mainstream right now, right? This is it.
And how long has that been? Because I think that's also something that you have to
count
take
Spiral
into account. Did people see that? Because the people who saw that, right, were probably people who were already aware of Saw. Saw is like 2003. So we're 20 years later, and those fans have since moved on. And so there's a new group of people who have never seen anything like this.
Yes.
This is splatter.
Yes.
In the theater, hardcore, just like Jesus fucking Christ splatter.
Yeah.
And I think it has.
Who knew there were that many fans of splatter?
I have a theory that
it has like a punk rock kind of thing.
Yes, I have a theory.
You're going against
this movie and this genre of movie is not actually meant for horror fans. I think this is meant for people who actually don't watch horror movies. Because they see this one extreme thing and it'll stick with them for the next like 20 years.
But what gets you into horror
But you and I
movies?
see stuff like this all the time, and so it's just not as. I don't know. I feel like everyone that recommends
benefit of like age, though.
Right.
It's like if you're just starting out, this may be the gateway into.
But I know
like,
people my age that love this movie too. You know, like I just think there's there's something about this movie that appeals to people that I don't necessarily think have a refined taste in cinema. You know what I'm saying? Like
it's just the shock factor.
If someone tells me the Terrifier movies are their favorite horror movies, I'm like, okay, so you haven't seen anything. Is my response usually like
maybe.
You haven't seen much, I guess.
Well, all they have to compare it to is like Blumhouse. Like the kind of creepy, blue, shadowy suspense, long shots, and something jumps out.
Yeah.
Boom. And there's a ghost with glowing eyes.
They tapped into a thing where it's just like, I shouldn't be watching this.
Right.
Like this feels like Faces of Death.
Right.
That's what this feels like. That thing's just like, I don't think I should be watching this. And
And can you take it? Which was,
there is that.
I guess the thing that
can you take it?
The 70s movies actually use that in their marketing.
Right.
This one,
it's only a movie.
Yeah,
it's
right. Like in the trailer, that's Last House on the Left. But I think like there is that kind of a cultural. Was it ever actually said? Can you take like Terrifier 2 or Terrifier 3?
I thought they had like puke bags for the second one, didn't they? One of them had it.
I'm sure it was in some trailer. They did a movie theater reaction trailer or spot for this. They had to have, right?
So it's like if you see this, it's extreme. Or so are you? Are you up to? I mean,
that's
so
part of the challenge. That's part of the fun.
Yeah.
I do.
And then it would go for people like us who's like, I've seen a ton of shit. Can I take this movie?
I do think the thing I like about this franchise the most is I like its spot it occupies in culture. I'm glad it exists because if we need something like this to kind of. I'm a fan of weird art, so I'm going to allow weird art to exist, whether it's for me or not, But I like that movies like this are making money, even if I don't feel like it's necessarily for me. I don't know. I respect
No, you
it.
do like
I respect
that. That is, yeah. You've felt that way for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it begs the question. So, I mean, as a lifelong horror fan, I consider myself a lifelong horror fan. I think you guys are lifelong horror fans. And why are you saying, because Sean said it earlier, Michaela just said it now, why is this not for you if it's a horror product that's doing, you know, it's like a grassroots horror thing from some dude who made this thing that suddenly broke through and like everybody now knows who the fuck Art the Clown, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like he's not like Freddy Krueger level. Like nobody gets there, I don't think. But he's at least like Chucky level.
I can see the icon. I understand now the iconography of Art the Clown.
It's a good look.
It's a great look.
Who is Art the Clown?
Scary.
He's a black and white mime clown.
Yes.
So he's not just
like,
a clown. He doesn't speak, but he's very like slender and
skinny. He's got a kind of exaggerated features in the nose and the cheekbones. He wears a tiny little black hat off the side of his head.
And the contrast of it makes it look scarier. All the black and white, you know.
And he's got black paint around his mouth, fucked up teeth. Just the painting. His eyes are very expressive. The actor behind it.
It's David
Howard Thornton.
Yeah.
Who was not the original Art the Clown.
No, that's right.
Earlier stuff.
There was a different guy was the Art the Clown in All Hallows Eve.
Yeah.
And then everything online says he retired from acting. That guy, I guess, is kicking himself.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then David Howard Thornton came in and did it for Terrifier, Terrifier 2, and Terrifier 3. And now, I mean, like, he's the Robert Englund of this generation, right? I mean,
he's at every convention, and that price just keeps going up.
Oh, I
although
bet.
he's not in like other movies.
No.
I haven't seen him like in anything. He's like the Kane Hodder.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
It's like we know that he plays this character. What you were describing is, I said, you know, who's Art the Clown? You told me what he looks like. So it's a design, right?
It is, because he's a mime and does not make a sound.
So who is Art the Clown? The star of these movies.
He's a sadistic Halloween spirit.
Yeah, I guess he can't be killed. I don't know. He's a mime clown that can't be killed. This movie doesn't really give you a ton to go on.
Now, I have a question for Terrifier, because this is a sequel, and we start at the end of that movie. I wonder, was he supernatural in that movie, and did it only become that in this movie? Because, like you said, I mean, a little bit of spoilers there, but he shoots himself in the head.
Yeah, at the end of Terrifier, he shot himself in the head and then wakes up in the morgue.
Yes, so he's very much quote unquote alive.
Yeah, and so that, I guess, was a surprise in that one, because it's just some creepy guy dressed as a clown, and this one is going to take, like, now we're expanding the universe.
So there was no indication he was immortal until
the ending.
That's what I want to
or like no supernatural stuff.
Not that I recall. I mean, unless my memory is, you know, and I didn't hold them. That was one thing, I guess, about this whole series. They don't stick with me. I mean, Terrifier has this scene that kind of made it a, you know, horror underground phenom was because he saws a woman who's like, it's not hogtied. What do you call it? You're like suspended by your ankles.
Yeah.
In like in a Y shape, and he saws her in half in graphic detail, and you're just like, whoa, you know, it went so far over the line there. Kind of like, you know, like I remember Reanimator was a movie that like went past where you thought a movie would stop.
Right.
Terrifier did that and kind of made it then
I forgot that one scene in Reanimator. I was like, oh yes, it does go past that line.
Past the line.
You're
but
right.
that was, I guess, you know, you say transgressive horror. That is kind of why we remember those movies.
Yep,
and so that one, if you saw Terrifier, you remembered it, and that gave us then Terrifier 2 and 3.
Yep. What do they do next? There's another reason why you can go see it as well. It's like, well, can they top what they did before?
Well, but you're going because it's I mean, the star of it is the splatter effects then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everything around the movie is just how do we get to the next gore effect, which this movie chooses to take the long
the scenic route
way
truly
between each gore effect. I think there's like a 70-minute movie in here somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, I can see it from Mr. Leon. Don't be your own editor.
He
No.
is his own editor.
Don't be your own editor. You
Right,
need
he-
someone else to be like,
Talking
kill your
about going
darling.
past the line. Every scene in this movie goes about 8 minutes longer than it should.
Yeah, because you got a director who's been through all of this shit making this movie and is not going to want to give up anything.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, you know what we had to do to get that? Why would
Yeah.
I cut it out of there? And that's not a feeling that you can go into an editing room with for your movie. Personally, I don't think.
Yeah, it's like he's going to put every single thing that he wrote and
Yep.
shot in the movie without collapsing or telescoping time. It's
Yeah.
like we're just going to show it. And so the movie runs 2 hours and 18 minutes,
Yeah.
which is
Boy, I felt
ungodly,
it.
right? It's like, what the hell? And it feels like it. I mean,
Yep.
it feels like it goes on forever. And I think, yeah, it's because he didn't have the discipline in the editing room. But some of that is like, I don't know. I'm like torn on this guy. It's like part of it is you have someone who is basically starts out as an amateur filmmaker,
Yeah.
right? He's interested in makeup effects. That's his thing. Design. You can tell because the characters get a very short shrift.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the look and it's about the posing and it's about the cinematography.
The final girl's a costume designer. Like
Yeah.
she's making a costume in her free time. Like
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
got to get to that, the show pieces, the set, the murder set pieces. And so we're kind of building all around that. So I did hear one of the anecdotes that I read was that he took, I don't know, 3 months to write the script because he actually had to learn like the art of screenwriting.
Right.
Like, you know, it's like, well, I'm going to make like, you know, I'm getting $250,000 to make this next one. So I'm going to make like a real movie.
Should
So
make
it's
some
like-
better characters, yeah.
yeah.
That was one of the criticisms of the earlier Terrifier, I believe.
And
The
this is
characters
the
were-
improvement?
This is the improvement.
This is the
That's-
improvement.
That's
But
disappointing. Wow.
there is, I mean, if you watch the other
Yeah.
the other two, it's like, okay, there is like I do see improvement.
Right.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, he is getting better than he was.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, somewhere in like by movie 6, right? You'll be like actually making real movies, you know, or something that's better thought out and better executed.
Well, yeah, but it all depends on what you want to execute. Like, I know he wanted to make them better. As you said, he took 3 months to, you know, write a better script, but you can feel in the movie what he wants to do, like we said, is the effects work.
Yeah.
That's what's important. That's what comes through. That's what's going to make the movie memorable.
Okay. Well, then I guess that begs the question of how is the effects work in this movie?
Great.
Top notch.
Yeah. I liked looking at them because I thought it was interesting to see how analog everything was, right? Like there were some parts where like chest cave in and stuff where it like the way it breaks is very satisfying. But yeah, it's really good. And
that ribcage really broke well.
yeah, and we'll get to like the bedroom scene, but that scene I thought, especially because your actress is moving so much for all those effects to look good in motion like that, I was like,
Yeah.
I was actually
Wow,
in there
great
a
job.
little bit. I was trying to figure out how he did it, which,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
you know, that you usually don't get
right,
that often anymore. But it was like, where is her
Where's
arm?
her arm?
right.
Where is
You know?
her arm?
Is it digitally erased? Is it? And then
I don't-
like there was a
she
shot
did a good
later
job with it.
where half of her face is missing, but the other half, and I'm like, well, that's got to be like a digital like seam somewhere. Like, I don't know if that's a practical thing. It's like that actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to say, since they did everything else so well, I got to believe it's practical.
Yeah.
Like, you just
Yeah.
build it out a little bit more, and then, effects work.
Yeah.
They'll just build on top of the face, but you make it look,
Yeah.
deeper in and everything.
Great
yeah,
stuff.
they could have pulled it off. It
Mhm.
really is very good stuff. It's
So
just
if
how
you're
much
there for the splatter,
I have to look at it.
Yeah.
How long I have to
For
look
me,
at it.
it's how long I have to watch all the other shit in between.
Well, yeah.
Like,
See, you
all
asked,
go ahead.
No, you asked earlier, it was like, why is this not for us? I think it goes past the point of impact for me.
Mm-hmm.
As far
The gore,
as
you're
the
saying, or-
gore and the
okay.
effects and the violence to it, like it turns into if you go too far, for me, it can get boring.
Yeah.
It's just like, all right, I saw it. She's dead. She's obviously like, you are just sitting there and playing in your own stuff
Mhm.
at that point. And I think, especially for a movie that is, ends up being 2 hours and I think 15 minutes and everything. Let's
Edit.
go. Let's move along.
Did you
It's like in Violent Nature did that same thing with that.
Oh,
that one scene just kept going and going.
It's just like, okay.
Was there any part of it where you were like, that is so realistically gross that I feel sick, or it's upsetting me, or is there like the tone of it? Like, it's hard to describe. It's like, it is a cruel movie, I suppose, in many ways. But there is like a plasticity to some of the effects that it's like, okay, that's really well done, you recognize it. But at the same time, it's like, it looks fake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
looks very
and that's
waxy.
the other part when you go too long. You get a look at it too much.
Yeah, exactly.
And it lessens the impact of it. I like a horror movie where someone's going to die. I mean, you can have fun with it, and plenty of movies do. But a little more impact in things that are happening to these people. When it goes on for too long, I think it loses that. And I think we get that in this. Again, the artistry of it, fantastic, love it. But transferred to story and movie, just like, okay, I got it. And now we're going to look at it for another 5 minutes when I got it.
Is it supposed to be comedic how long it goes on for? Is that what we're supposed to get out of this? Because this movie's tone kind of goes back and forth. Like, there's intended to be comedic moments in this.
Well, Art the Clown, I think, is constantly like, he has a personality. I get it for a silent, character. I guess that's the thing I think that David Howard Thornton brings to it is like this, I was going to say a cheeky humor. I don't know if that's the way to best it, like capture.
While you're murdering people. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is
there's like a
humor.
glee that he has kind of, but it's like, I don't know. It like diffuses the seriousness, I guess, in some ways as a viewer watching it, because it really does reaffirm that, like, okay, this is a movie, don't take this too seriously. This is like, some gleeful killer clown.
Yeah. I do like when he's trying on all the sunglasses in the store.
Yeah. Stuff like that.
There's funny moments.
But there's no comedy like in the writing or the characters. Like the rest of it is played, I think he thinks, deadly straight.
Yeah.
There's no relief. It stretches on forever.
I think that's another thing, because it is so long. No relief.
It
no
makes
relief.
It's like not fun then.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was something like this. Like I want to have more fun with this movie, and it doesn't afford me the opportunity. I feel like I'm closed in with it until it's done.
Right.
And you will stay here with it, and I will make you watch it until it's over.
I can't have fun when you like the basis of this movie is like this family drama with all this like tragedy around this family. That really sucks the fun out of it.
Grief, loss,
brain tumors, hilarious stuff.
Yes. And then there's no let up from that.
Yeah, the mom is just that character is just meant to be a total nag, and just like you're supposed to feel good about her face getting blown off.
I wonder. Like I like the actress, and it's like, and I liked at points her performance, but it was like hampered by the writing of the character was like so one note, that all she does is, bitch and yell at her kids.
If she had stayed in that robe the entire movie, I wouldn't have been surprised.
You'd be like, oh, she's depressed. Yeah,
right, a cigarette pops up every now and again. A glass of wine, which we dig. She does go full wine mom at a certain point.
Man, I was really hoping she was going to have a Louise Lasseter style breakdown to somebody, and I was like,
that's what it needed.
Oh, that would have redeemed it for me.
Yeah,
but instead, it's like, no, she gets bitch vandalized on her car, and she gets her face blown off because she's a bitch, and it's like, okay, my general attitude to this movie is we get it. We get it. There's my review. We fucking get it. Like that's how I feel about everything about this movie. Like the length, the effects, the editing, the quote unquote points it's trying to make. I don't know if it's trying to make any.
Trying to make points?
The point there was she deserved it and wasn't that fun to watch her get it. But just we get it.
We get it.
We get it.
I
Subtlety.
want to look
not
at more
exist.
like, hey, we get it, right?
Yeah.
We understand.
I guess this one centers around, as Michaela's saying, there's a family, and it's primarily Lauren Lavera, I think, is the actress who plays a character named Sienna Shaw.
I like her.
And
I like her too.
Okay, so
I think she comes out the best in this.
Yep.
She's asked to do a lot.
A lot. And she is dedicated to what she has to do. Specifically more stuff later in the movie, but yeah.
It's more, we're saying like the physical ordeal that the movie's going to put her. horror movies do this generally. Like, you know, actors when they're starting out, they go through this like hell of producers shooting a horror movie, and then later they do scenes where they just walk into a scene and talk to somebody and walk out.
Yep.
And they're like, wow, I remember I did this thing when I was like 20 years old. So she gets put through the ringer. Her like performance, she's not really, I don't know, asked to do, you know, great swings emotionally,
Right.
but physically I think it's demanding, and those you know are rare people who can pull that off.
Yeah.
Apparently, okay, so anyway, there's her little brother and the mom. How they connect to the first movie, they don't. How they connect to Art the Clown is, I think,
psychic brain tumor visions.
Okay, so let me get this straight.
That's what I got out of it.
Now I've seen the whole movie, so I think her father,
yep,
had a brain tumor,
yep,
and somehow started drawing pictures of Art the Clown.
Yes,
but also a Valkyrie type Wonder Woman character, fantasy character.
Yep.
Yes.
And I think this is some kind of psychic connection. Like, this is the character that can vanquish Art the Clown.
Yep.
Okay. And so Sienna eventually, like a year after her father's passing, like creates this Halloween costume that's the Valkyrie suit, you know, so she's going to spend most of the movie walking around with angel wings and in like a suit of armor kind of thing.
I wouldn't call it a suit
of armor. Yeah, I was trying
like
to say
a
it's
fantasy
like
bikini
she is
and
scantily
skirt,
clad for the
suit of
most
armor,
of the last half of this movie.
And
not complaining, but that is what she is. Yes, that is what she is.
Because Damien Leone
he also
said,
bought her a sword.
Yes.
Yeah.
The father also got her a sword before he died, which is
a
we don't know where it came from.
Razor sharp, as she says.
Razor
so leave
sharp.
it out on the dresser out in the open.
Yeah. And
Makes
apparently,
sense.
so we know that sword is going to come into play at the end of this, and it's a magic sword, apparently, at the end. You're like, what?
And I'm like, I bought a ticket to a horror movie, right? What is all this fantasy shit up in my, what I thought was a slasher movie?
sword and sandals.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I mean,
Not a
during
slasher movie.
During that last part of this movie, I was just like, this guy thought he was never going to make another movie again. Because
So
he's
he put
putting everything. He's like, I want a fucking epic. I want swords. I want.
But doesn't it seem like it is going something like in the next? I'm like, you're opening this up. So the next thing you do, it's like, well, Art is like some ancient thing, and she is
God.
like some, like angelic.
They've
and
been
it's-
fighting this battle for thousands of years. Good versus evil.
You can do that by Terrifier 5, right? You can explore this mythology or something. I mean, the first one was about a serial killer just like a clown.
Yeah.
That's the one I want. Yeah, that's the story I'm interested in. But I mean, yeah, I did not expect this whole like dad's having psychic visions of this Valkyrie that's going to kill Art the Clown.
I'm just glad
Did
he
not
decided
expect it.
not to do flashbacks and make this movie 3 hours long, because he could have.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Just a crazy dad just
Yep.
drawing a flashback.
Well, I mean, we can.
And
we can
Chris
do that in the
Jericho's
third
the
one.
crazy dad.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe there's flashbacks in the third. I haven't seen it. Maybe she goes back in time. You can do that. Or she gets to meet, and we find out why Dad is somehow connected
are
to.
they in the third one?
I think Lauren Lavera is.
And the
yeah.
brother
Okay.
are both back for the third installment. So yeah, it's a continuation. So we'll have to check out the third Terrifier, or maybe at some point.
How long is it?
2 hours and 5 minutes.
Still too long. Still that. Oh my
It's
God.
at 155, and we're like,
Yeah.
okay.
But it's got a $2 million budget. Don't you want to see what he can do with like $2 million at his
The clips will hit the internet soon enough. That's
Yeah.
all I need.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Apparently, I also read Damien Leone had crafted the character, the Sienna Shaw character. I'm saying visually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he just sees things visually. It's about the kill scenes and what Art the Clown looks like and what she looks like. He had created that character for a different movie or a different story years ago, and then was like, I got to bring this back, this Valkyrie thing. And so he brought her into the Terrifier movies because he wanted to create, he said, another iconic character to go with Art the Clown. So we're supposed to all have our action figures of Art the Clown and the Valkyrie.
Like, unless she's dressed like that in the third one, then I don't think it's going to stick.
Right? I know.
Don't
That's
think it's
why
gonna
like you
stick.
got to get her in that costume in the third
If
one.
she's in it in the third one, I'll understand. Like, if she has to, like, oh, Art's back, and then she opens the closet, and there it is. You
I
know,
think it
like
has to
Captain
be
America's uniform on the fucking wall.
She has to
with
be
the sword
in
and
that by
everything.
the
That's
third
what it
act.
has to be.
Yeah, it has to be.
If you want it to stick, if that's his goal. That's what it's got to be.
There's another additional character to this installment.
A dish, okay.
Oh, yeah. Does this character have a name?
The pale little girl.
Oh, Art's inner child?
Right.
Okay.
I hate everything about this. From the moment it's introduced, I'm like, no.
I don't... I question the purpose she serves, but I like her. I don't mind her.
As
I love
a
her
design,
as
you're
a design.
saying.
Yes, as a design of
Yeah.
the character, the eyes and everything. Again, he like you said, the visuals is what he's focused on. It's like, well, he pulled it off. The visuals look great on the little girl. Creepy as shit.
She's like another like a pigtailed clown type with creepy eyes and creepy teeth that when we're first introduced to her, only Art can see her.
Well, he's naked doing his laundry at the laundromat.
Yep.
'Cause that's funny.
Did not expect to see clown ass in this movie.
No,
I
He
was like,
washes
wow,
his
okay.
bloody clothes at the public
no one ever
line.
does.
Yeah.
Clown ass will just show up in random places and no one's ever expecting it.
Yeah.
And
There was a sign later on that said "Danger Clowns." I'm like, "Danger Clowns." That's a great name for a band.
Danger clowns.
Danger
love it,
clowns.
yeah.
yeah, in the haunted house later. Well, I was actually thinking because at the beginning you were saying, Sean, you know, like because it recaps the scene at the morgue where he's going after the mortician. He's just been resurrected, and there's like the flashing blue lights of like an electrical storm off camera.
Like a portal's opened
There's
up.
a 1980s portal that
Yes.
opened up around the corner that we don't see.
We
And
never
this is
see
when
it.
I was like, oh no, because like this already is telling me there's a supernatural element. In the
Yeah.
cold open, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no.
So is the idea that the pale little girl is some kind of supernatural deity that has brought Art the Clown back to life, or is he also a supernatural deity?
I thought up until a certain point she was just a hallucination of his. There was
Yeah.
no indication she was a ghost or anything
Because
up until
you're
later in the
thinking-
movie.
He's a psychotic serial killer and he's having
Well, because when we're introduced to her, you see it from his perspective and he can see her. And then we cut to the perspective of the patron in the laundromat and there's nothing there.
Right.
So,
And then that changes
yeah.
later on with a different character.
Yeah, exactly. This movie doesn't follow its own rules and it's really annoying.
well, the brother ends up seeing the little girl and
How?
Art like at his school somehow. They're like, and I think eventually at a club under the influence of Molly. I think Sienna also sees the
Yeah.
little girl. So I just wondered if it was trying to say that
The first thing you said, that the she's a deity that brought him, whatever you said there. No, that is
Okay.
not it. There is no
The movie
specific-
offers nothing. That's the
okay,
problem.
but
The
it
movie doesn't
does-
offer any of this.
because he's lost an eye, she seems to heal him. She heals his eye and gives him an eye back.
pokes it when she touches it.
Yeah, she does something, and like after the patty cake, and then he has an eye, and then later
That is no. The dude does his laundry and then has an eyeball, and I don't.
There's also no dialogue during any of these scenes.
Yeah, they're
So much
mimes.
of this movie, I know, but
I like that.
ugh,
I like the fact that he doesn't talk. But
I like it too. But it's the problem with every other scene. This movie just goes on for so long. Like, just trim it down and be more. It could even be funny and charming if you cut it down a little bit. But
I don't think there's anything that
Did
says
she
that
kill
she heals
anyone?
him. No.
And also at the end of the movie, after he's defeated, she's the one who kind of takes him back to the netherworld or
Yeah,
whatever.
grabs his head and
mhm.
So I
shakes his
thought she
head.
was some kind of conduit or vessel. She's the supernatural thing that's taken. But
I think you're right
it-
because where that head ends up later. Yes.
it may like undo this too, because there is dialogue, one line, I think, when they're on the way to the amusement park for the climactic confrontation, that the friend says something about, this is the amusement park where that little girl died all those years ago. And you're like, oh shit, it's probably that little girl. Like she died here. Now she's been resurrected as
Right.
this.
And there was a newspaper clipping about that too.
Right.
Yeah. In
Okay.
the book, in the sketch pad later on. Right.
Okay, so it's confusing. So either she is from another world or she's resurrected, or she was a victim of some kind of killing and came back as a thing. And then maybe that means Art has too.
Don't
Who
ever die at
knows?
a fun house. Otherwise, you know what's going to happen to you. You're coming back as that.
So
I think that might work for you.
I was like,
Scare all the
that
children.
doesn't sound terrible to me. Fun
Right, I think
houses
that
are
might work
pretty
for you,
dope.
Michaela.
I was actually thinking when I was watching this movie, I loved that how much of the third act took place inside the fun house and the amusement park altogether. I was like, this is what I've wanted from
Always
so many
fun.
other movies. Like,
Always fun when you end up at a fun house at the end of a movie.
this is what we wanted Texas Chainsaw to do, and
yeah.
it didn't do it.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Like at least a veer detour into it. But the monsters that are in the funhouse
It's so
are
cool.
great.
Yeah.
I love them. I
What's
love
wrong-
those giant with the giant hands and it's beautiful.
I think you can actually, like, because I was sitting there going, like, it's like this movie's got a $250,000 budget.
Colin's like, how can I add this to my automated house?
Yes.
Because it looks, the end of the movie looks like they have money for
Days.
sets. And,
Yep.
for days, I guess, right? It's like, wow, they got their money's worth out of this.
Yep.
So then you're like, okay, this is stuff that they got from a functioning haunted house, or they bought these things,
Right?
like they didn't build them. They bought them, or did they build? They couldn't have built these things.
No,
You
I
don't
think they would have
time to do
bought
it.
them from somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them looked like that. One of them's a rat. Looks like that rat they always put out in front of when people are protesting.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Scabby
the rat? That's what that one looked
Oh my
like.
God, it did. I
And
didn't
it
think
just like
about that.
pokes
It was-
its head out of the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
no,
a
I
Halloween
imagine they
movie
bought
with
them.
some Halloween atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does get there.
Colorful lighting, heavy on the reds and blues.
Yeah.
I think it is a nice movie to look at, like cinematography wise, which I did not expect. I thought it would be grimier and dirtier, like visually in that sense, but it's not.
Right.
I kind of appreciate it.
does, I only saw the digital kind of smear on it a little bit a
Mhm.
couple times in this when she's running around near the end of the movie.
Mhm.
There's just a digital look to it.
Does
Where
it
if someone moves fast enough.
Yeah.
With that motion smoothing almost type
There's
look.
something, there's something to the motion, but other than that, like you said, looks good.
Mhm.
I
And
think
it
it looks good.
approximates like a film grain filter or whatever of
Yeah.
35 millimeter film. The soundtrack is, I guess you'd call it like 80s synth.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was I'm like, are we watching It Follows? Like,
Right.
Certain
It did
moments in
feel
this,
that
I'm just
way.
like, huh.
There
But
was
I liked
one
it.
scene I was like, that's a John Carpenter riff. Kind of.
Oh yeah,
know.
you hear those. I heard a John Carpenter riff. I heard a
Mhm.
Nightmare on Elm Street riff
Mhm.
a little bit in there. Yeah, and there's a couple of them in there where you're just like, these sound familiar.
Although the sound mix is really weird, but I think that's part of, because he was probably his own sound editor too, I think he was actually. Was
Probably.
he Damien Leone, like editor and sound editor? It's like the mix is in a really weird place. Sometimes characters, you can't hear them over the sound effects. Sometimes the sound effects or the music obliterates the sound effect. The
Yeah.
horn honking in the costume store.
Right.
It's like we need to hear that.
Yeah, I understand it for the quote unquote club scene when we're in the bar and you're like supposed to kind of strain to hear.
Yeah,
what
what are
they're
they saying up there?
But yeah,
So there's early on in the movie, and I
Yes.
think it was as we're setting these new characters up, because I guess there's a character that survived the first movie who was her face was deformed.
yeah. Love this makeup too.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Ooh.
Crazy that like in like Nope, the person that has like a disfigurement like this is like, I have to wear a veil over my face all the time. But this lady,
This lady's like, I'm
is
going on
no,
TV and
you
you're
know
gonna
what?
look at
Yep.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's going on with that character. Again, that's a setup for like the third movie, I assume. She shows up at the very end, and there's like cameos in this movie by Chris Jericho, the wrestler.
Yep.
Felissa Rose
Felissa Rose is in it.
is a
From
teacher.
Sleepaway
Yeah.
Camp.
Yep.
Yeah.
The blonde from Halloween 5.
Tamara Glynn or from Halloween 5.
Gotcha.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah, she was in the barn.
She was in
She
the barn.
shows up.
She was in the
like,
barn with
briefly.
Spitz.
Yeah.
Yep.
She got murdered. Couldn't tell you
Um,
her name, and I'll give you $1 if you can tell me the brother's name in this movie.
No idea.
They have failed.
Did they say
I
it?
just saw it. It's like Daniel. No. Michael. No.
Ooh, they do say it a lot, don't they?
Do
I know they say it a lot, and I can't remember his
Yeah,
name.
she's yelling it a lot.
Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Is it?
Yeah.
No.
They did not say his. Did they even say
They-
his
no,
name?
Oh, yeah, they say it a lot.
Do they?
They do.
Yeah.
It just
Wow,
never
it didn't
stuck.
stick. Yeah, it
Because
didn't.
such
She's
shit is
yelling his
Jonathan.
name
Oh,
the whole
yeah,
time.
I
The
guess
through.
that's
mom
right.
yells it a lot when she's
Yeah.
like, yeah. Wow, that did not stick.
Well, I guess so the movie proper, the plot, right? And
Aha,
of
the
which
plot.
is there a plot? There's
No.
a story. What are we saying? There's it's all plot, no story. The story is, like, if I get this right, there's this girl with a traumatic past that has a psychic link to a potential serial killer / supernatural deity who goes out to a Halloween party or at a bar, and her friends eventually are killed by this thing, and then she ends up fighting it and finds out that she's supernatural Valkyrie, has a sword.
Her dad had
I'm
visions.
sorry, are you describing Terrifier 2 or Rob Zombie's Halloween 2? Because that sounds like the same movie.
It sounds the same. I mean, I just like, that's like the...
Sounds like a lot like this lifted a lot from Halloween 2. Psychic connection, serial killers on Halloween.
Right?
Yeah.
There's not much
Yeah.
to this, but somehow they wring 2 hours and 18 minutes out of it. And part of it
Somehow.
was,
All you have to do is not cut something.
Just never edit. Just, use
There's
all the footage.
there's a dream scene that takes place early on in the movie where...
and you said later, it's like, hey, so you thought that would be for nothing and wouldn't pay off. I don't think it did.
I really wish I would have clocked how long this dream scene was. It felt
Felt long.
endless. I'm going to say it was probably like 10 minutes.
It felt like
It's
10
long.
minutes. I mean,
It
it
felt
felt
like
like
10
20.
Yeah.
It could have been 10. And then you find out, it was like, no, it's 5 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
It had to be longer than
But
that.
the frustrating thing is that it's not like a pull-out reveal, oh, we're in a dream. We know we're in a dream for this entire scene, so we know it's pointless.
We know it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we know it's just a way for them to dick around in the sandbox and do all the gags they've wanted to do.
And maybe get a little bit of information across in the sword.
Yeah.
That is what comes out of that scene.
Right.
Is that the sword saved her
Right.
within the dream. Maybe.
I don't even think that.
It establishes her psychic connection with Art because she starts seeing him in real life after this. She's aware of,
Yeah.
and something about, like, I dreamed. There's a fire that happens in her room and
Yeah.
destroys her costume, and she has to rebuild it. I don't know. Like, you could cut this out of the movie, I swear to God, and shorten it by, it felt like,
You can do something different there.
it takes place like a kid's show or something like that, and there's a cereal or the clown cafe. There's a song. I mean,
my
it's
God,
annoying.
the
as
song
hell.
goes on
There's a
for so
song.
long.
You hear the entire song, which
I just don't know the point of it. I suppose, it's like you could have conveyed all that. I guess they did convey that information over and over again throughout the movie, that you don't need the dream to do it. And then I guess, like, the actual plot of the movie kicked in, and it was, she's a high school student, college student. She's
High school.
drinking.
high school
Yeah.
goes to a bar, does not get ID'd.
Yep.
drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she has a couple friends. And so one of the friends is attacked in her bedroom in a big centerpiece scene.
Yeah.
Which did look good.
This was the first thing I ever saw of Terrifier, because Terrifier 2, the whole thing. Because once you hear about, up to this point, you hear what the movies have done or are doing currently, and just like you get that curiosity, like, all right, I'm going to watch the scene, see what this is all about. And so this was the first part I saw. It felt a lot longer the first time I saw it. I'll tell you
bet.
that. It goes by a little quicker.
Really? Because I was watching it tonight going, oh, we're cutting back to it. It's
Yeah.
still happening.
Yeah.
He mauls this woman. He comes to her door and, to get candy on Halloween, and then ends up breaking into the house later,
Yeah.
and then chases her to the bedroom, and I think he scalps her, or he cuts her eye open.
Cuts her eye around the face.
Yeah, and then scalps her, pulls it back, and this is where you start looking for the seams on the appliances on the actress, but they look so good, and she's moving around, thrashing, doing all sorts of crazy stuff with all these appliances on.
There is, but there's also if you put enough blood on something, you can't see.
That's true.
any
Yeah,
shame. And
I
they
guess
are,
it was more like surprised it didn't slip at all.
right, yeah. And they are, the blood is plentiful.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
So you wouldn't
good
out of
point.
pouring.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to see a seam if you
Right,
tried in
that's
this.
true.
So
And then he breaks her arm off.
breaks her arm off, which
So she's crawling around without the arm, which, is convincing.
looks
looking.
good.
again, very convincing. You know?
He's cutting her on her back,
Yeah.
rubbing salt in the wound.
bleach.
I mean, it's just cruel.
And this is where I'm like, this is just extreme for the sake of extreme.
Right.
And I get everyone has to go through that phase in their life of movie watching of how far can I test my limits? But I, as an old person, have already done that.
Yeah.
So I don't need to
We
keep,
as olds
Yes.
have been there.
Yeah, I went through that. So,
Right.
to me, it feels redundant. But I can get why that would be shocking to someone who has never seen anything.
I guess that is kind of an interesting comment on the times that that we had extreme movies. Like, I guess when I was a kid, the extremity was like kind of new.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it came out of like the late 70s and existed into the mid 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there was anything that you could really compare that to.
Right.
Where now it's like you can compare it to like, well, 40 years ago, we were doing that kind of thing before.
I know we again, as the olds, we always feel like there was more of a point in our movies. It just seemed like there's not a point. Like,
Jigsaw was trying to teach people lessons, okay?
Yeah, he was extreme, sure, but he wanted everyone to save themselves and learn something from it. There doesn't seem to be any point in killing these people aside from I want to kill these people in the most splatterific way I can.
So then you go like, okay, with the Friday the 13th series would maybe be like
they went to his fucking lake. They shouldn't be there.
Jason has a motive though. What is Art the Clown's motive?
I don't know.
He doesn't have one.
He just kills.
That's the problem. Like,
that's where I have.
Well, people said that about Jason, but you're right. It's like he was like territorial. You go there.
Mm-hmm.
He's the thing that.
You went to him.
Yeah.
Art's coming to everybody.
If you go in the woods, there's this crazy guy out there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I guess those movies, the criticism of them was that they were, splatter movies built around the kill scenes. It really didn't have a plot. They just kind of sent kids into the grinder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look at In a Violent Nature, who's commenting on that stuff, it would seem, by having kind of those same pointless characters and just having the kills.
But I guess you do the contrast being like, the movies that we watched were more efficient in their expenditure of time. Like there were, I think like the creators of those still like were bound by the rules of classic storytelling.
Right.
And it's like, if this scene doesn't forward the movie, then you cut it. If you can take 3 scenes and combine them into one in the writing, let's make this more efficient so it becomes a lean kind of movie. Plus, I guess they were all on cocaine in the 80s and they were like, we don't have time for this.
Yep.
Let's just go.
I mean, there was that. And then, obviously audiences were different in what they would watch, how long they watch it. Like the whole process, especially living in a time of these movies being released in a digital era, certain limitations don't seem like they're there anymore.
As far as time?
The length and what you can do in those times, because you can... It's not like nobody's gonna. I don't know. Like you can watch him anywhere. Like time limitations don't seem to matter as much if you're just releasing these things like digitally.
I think the producers are all sitting there going like, well, people will sit down and binge watch, 8 hours of a show in one day. So what is 2 hours and 18 minutes really of your time? It still felt long to me. I still think that could be because I came from an era where they could do it in an hour and 30 minutes. It's like breeze in and get it done.
Yeah, and you got the point, and you got your thrill, and you got out. Like it's possible. They've been doing it for years.
Well, this one got to a point where okay, because it's basically her brother, mom, and 2 friends, right? I mean, and then there's a boyfriend, the one girl. So one girl's killed in her bedroom, and that goes on forever. And then her mom comes in, finds Art cutting her leg off and eating her brain or eating her heart or whatever.
I would like to know, we skipped an entire act in the middle where she went and was tripping on Molly on Halloween at the club. But that's how unimportant it is to the
with the bad friend who slipped her the Molly.
I put Molly in your drink. And she's like, what? And then she goes on to have a fit about this later on.
Yep.
She's like, you are a bad friend.
Mom gets killed for no reason. I assume Art is there because of some kind of he's pursuing her.
Why? Does he know what the dad?
I think. Well,
what does Art know?
Is it a psychic connection,
does
just like Halloween?
He picks up the sword in her bedroom when he's in, and doesn't register any kind of reaction to it at all.
Right. And it's very that sword, man. That might be the biggest disappointment in this movie. Maybe we'll get to it when it happens later. But that sword, disappointed in it. And I'll tell you
I was trying to figure out how it was actually going to show up in the climax.
That's what I was wondering.
He leaves it there, and then it just kind of shows up in the climax.
I think we could have done more with it instead of it just showing up. And also, it turns into just a regular sword. Like, this thing glowed red with energy.
It brought her back to life.
Right. And it ends up just being a regular bullshit sword in the way it's used to vanquish our villain at the end.
Yeah.
There should have been
there was
like
no
a red
magic
swipe
to it
and
or
her
anything.
head flying up. There's no magic to it when he went to so much to make it magic.
I know.
And there's no magic with it at the end. That's my biggest complaint.
I can't believe we're talking about magic in a fucking Killer Clown movie. So stupid.
Oh, man. Range.
Sure, you can call it that.
Yeah, we'll call it range.
Because at some point I didn't understand, like when this magic stuff starts happening, like even the rules of it. I guess the other girl, the bad friend, Art gets into her house, I think, because he's like somehow aware of her and attracted to her. Like, this is my, the Beauty and the Beast situation, right?
Sure. And even attracted to like just the family, and because there's constant worry that the brother is turning into a serial killer.
Because he has an obsession with Art, apparently.
Art and other stuff, and
because everybody knows about Art because of the, he killed people a year ago, was never found or whatever. And so Art breaks into the house, kills the mom, abducts the brother, I think, to draw Sienna to the haunted house, which is going to be where the end of the movie, where the little girl was killed, the pale girl who can use her voice to, she could use the brother's voice to call Sienna.
That came out of nowhere.
It did. But Colin, maybe you're right. Maybe she is the full driving force behind all of this, because where do we go? Back to where she died at the very end,
because that's where the portal is.
Right,
there is a portal to hell or something, to at least it leads to the fantasy,
it leads to
clown
the dream
cafe.
There's a pit in the middle of a basement and a sub lower level that leads to a water tank in the dream.
Where she is, I assume that's all a metaphor or something. She gets trapped in the water tank and apparently dies until Jonathan calls her name, and she wakes up. Her wound, she's been stabbed with the sword.
She got stabbed with the sword,
It
heals
glows while it heals. It's like glowing.
It glows up there on the ground, and also her wound,
the knife,
red lightning,
is they're connected somehow.
Right. And she's trapped in a water tank. I don't want to say this, but it feels, again, like everything else in the movie, feels like a long time. But she's also like doing great work in the water tank, like a dedicated actress, because, like I said, it feels like she's in there for a long time.
It really does. She's great in this movie. I didn't expect a standout like that, I guess.
No, I didn't either. And that water tank scene,
she's doing
really
yelling. She's acting in the tank, like
in that armor,
you got to be running out of air. Cut. Here's the next one. How long are you in there doing this over and over again?
Completely natural in that thing. She's doing great.
But she is brought back to life by her brother calling for her. This is after her mom somehow shows up, who's dead. Her mom is killed, gets her head blown off. She shows up, but then it's the little girl pretending to be mom. I'm not entirely sure what the fuck's going on.
We also get Art's playing with the brother at this point. After there's certain in where he shows no mercy in the rest of the movie in killing people, he toys with the little brother in what feels like to delay the moment where she comes back to life and comes back up. That kid should be dead.
Yeah.
She should be dead too.
I know. Yeah, he kills everybody else real fast, and then this ending
tortures
takes
them.
like 30 minutes.
It does, because he whips them for a half hour, and then there's more fighting. Like this,
she gets the whip, and she whips him.
Yeah,
and
this is
like,
a big
oh,
scene
it's turning around.
Like there was so much made about the armor and everything. I thought it would come into more use.
No,
with the whipping,
her at all.
She should put that gauntlet arm up to catch the whip into it, and that should be a turning point moment.
Right.
And this is where story.
She's like
something. This is where the filmmakers are failing at the art of storytelling. In moments like this.
But even I suppose
when you need it in these long ass parts at the end.
And don't you hate feeling like you're ahead of the movie in like ideas and in pace? I think that was what's so frustrating for me about watching is like, I know, like let's get to the next point, because you're telegraphing so loudly where you're going with this. Let's hurry up and get there. Why are we taking so long? Like I hate being ahead of a script like that.
And we've known about that sword forever.
Yeah.
And so that is what for a while we're waiting for. Because we know, and we're just wondering, how does it get there randomly?
Yes.
Yeah, it just shows up. I can't even remember.
Like if
how it
the
was
brother
introduced? Art has it. Art has
looks
it
at it and
in the house.
He does, but that's the last time we don't see him put it in a bag.
Right.
It would have been
Then he has it at the climax and stabs her with
because
it.
the brother runs into the room to go for the sword, and it would have been better if he'd like grabbed it, went to use it, but then got knocked out by Art, but still had it.
Yeah.
And so in conveying the brother to the scene, he still got the sword there somewhere. Like you could have. Again, this is the art of storytelling. Just little hints that the sword's there. Like Art's moving the body, and the sword just falls on the ground. Like you can put these little elements in there to foreshadow what's going on in your story, and they don't do it.
But you're right about the armor. It's like, yeah, she looks sexy in it. She's a badass, and well, they didn't even use slow motion. They should.
No, they
should whipping him or whatever.
You do everything else for one scene.
It is not functional, like you said. Like
and it should be.
Yeah.
For as much as
especially if it was her dad's vision of the thing that was supposed to defeat Art, there needs to be like some Deus Ex Machina about it.
Yeah,
something. There should be something.
Otherwise, he was just a crazy man having visions.
There
Sorry.
should be something to it. Even if like we've established magic at a certain point, fucking go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
You've established it. We're here. Go for magic. Have that thing glow bright red and
Wonder
help
Woman
her
moment.
defeat
Yeah,
him. Something. If that's what you have decided to do, which they have, do it.
But it doesn't. She ends up just stabbing Art and hacking his head off with the sword.
Again, we don't get magic sword. It should have one clean swipe is what should have taken his head off.
Yeah,
it doesn't
because
we gotta
we gotta belabor the point some more. Yes.
Yeah. I guess it also did kind of go. There was he hacked off a guy's dick at one point, because you have to. This extreme.
He's wearing that shirt. You gotta finish off the joke later on.
Yeah, and then
I'm surprised. I'm really surprised that
he didn't use it as a weapon.
Well, no, I'm surprised because the boyfriend is taking a leak. I'm surprised that Art didn't like pop up within the stream and then cut it off.
I was surprised how much cutting around they did in that scene. I was like, oh, this is where we're going to hold back with the dick, right? Okay, now we're going to hold back. I mean, you get a little bit of it later, but I was like, it's convenient that this is the one we're not seeing.
Right.
You know?
I'm like, you went so far with everything else.
Exactly.
Why aren't you doing it with this?
Right.
I was like, okay, we don't want to get into the shisa or piss play in a movie. I'm not complaining.
But if you're going to be extreme,
just
go all the way.
Right,
there's
still the third one, so we don't know what they got to top this one and the third one.
I have heard rumor of a notorious shower scene in the third one that apparently is like extreme. I just hear people being like, I'm ruined now that I've seen the shower scene. So.
Never take a shower again.
A challenge.
Psycho couldn't get Terrifier 3
she is killed in a special effects extravaganza. That's right.
Who's she?
The bad friend. Her boyfriend gets his dick cut off. He ends up chasing her down in the Halloween amusement park and bashing her chest and eating her heart. Right, he did something to her face too. I can't remember.
He hit her in the face with it again. Once we've gone this far in the movie, the death is
how can you top it?
Right, and the death is just he beats her with a table leg that's got.
Well, he beats her chest cavity open. You know what I mean? I suppose.
In the world of Terrifier 2 and what we've seen so far leading up to this is not nothing
worse.
Nothing special. It's not a exclamation point on this death. This is why I think a lot of movies start out. They'll escalate their deaths and and all that stuff. This doesn't
top the one before it.
Right. This starts at like we're going to start very high, and then we're going to see if we can keep that momentum throughout the movie.
Right.
And they don't. I don't think. Or at least they try, and it's just like, okay, we've seen it. And I was already that high. I can't keep getting that high for the entire movie. So by this point in the movie, I'm a little like,
would you say we get it?
Well, we get it. We get it, Michaela. I think you're right.
We get it.
We get it.
I think that's but see, again, that kind of strikes me as like, it's, I mean, you're professional if you get paid for it, but it feels like an amateur kind of, he's not a fully developed filmmaker, right?
Yeah.
This is still like him learning, but it's like he's learning with movies that are going into theaters.
Right.
The rest of us learned with like making short. I guess he did that already, but it seems like he's jumped higher in his filmmaker progression than he should be, and is actually like, developing as a filmmaker, like right in front of your eyes,
right in front of the world, and he's reaching a peak as far as what the movie going audience wants to see, and he's still like developing. At that point.
I don't know if a Terrifier 4 could top whatever Terrifier 3 did.
I think he's got to take a break now. Like,
I don't think.
There's too much money to be made.
This is his thing. I mean,
is he going to go to space or some shit? Just do the full, all the cliches. Go to space.
He could take a break and get just rich off the licensing of Art the Clown at this point.
There is a whole section in Spirit Halloween of Terrifier branded costuming.
I'm going to assume he owns that. I'm going to assume he owns
art.
art. If he owns art, he can take a break and just get.
I think I read
pretty
that
comfortable.
There was like Bloody Disgusting. I want to say did like some kind of celebratory, announcement somewhere after the theatrical run was, like this thing blew up. But it is like 100%. I think like creator controlled. Like they have not taken, any kind of studio money or anything. They are making their own. So I mean, this is an anomaly in today's. Cinematic ecosphere.
Yeah, there's something to that.
They're going to keep making them. They're going to milk it, Sean. They're going to take it way too far.
You got to have like 8 of them.
Yeah.
You know what?
Art
There's
the Clown,
there's nothing in what I've seen that says they will stop.
No, they're going to keep
because they wouldn't stop in the movie.
No.
I don't think. I think that attitude probably
restraint
like said,
is not doesn't exist.
Yeah. Keep going until the money runs out. Until nobody pays to see it anymore. Yeah.
Right, and then they'll just do conventions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what he does. I don't know. Outside of Art the Clown.
That's why I just
where does
wonder,
he go?
like, as a filmmaker, like, I don't know. I mean,
does he have taste to do something different?
But few filmmakers can create that kind of thing twice. Not
everybody's a Wes Craven.
Yeah. So then it becomes like, okay, maybe this is the only thing that he's got, and you may as well like. I mean, I guess if I were him, I would recognize that. I'd make these movies while people were interested, and then I would put it all into my retirement savings.
I mean, he just needs to figure out what else.
Live large, you're saying?
No, I'm saying he needs to figure out what else he's passionate about and pursue that. I mean, movie wise, I'm saying like.
Yeah, but you got to bank this stuff. You got to this is the stuff that because you don't know those other ones may not do anything.
I agree. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think we have reached a point where he can. I think he can do it without making more, but hey, what do I know? Like maybe you get in that opportunity, you're just like, this may never happen again.
But that's the thing. He's Damien Leone. Like, what, you go to see a Damien Leone movie. What are you going to, I mean, really?
What's a romance? Bridges of Madison County's next?
Right.
Yeah.
I would love to see
I'd watch it. Hey, it's like, didn't we talk about was this an on mic or off mic discussion where they should have I said they should have a genre director draft. So we mix up the directors and the genres, and someone gets drafted.
Steven Spielberg's Terrifier 4.
Exactly. So, and you don't get to pick. It's a draft. Right. You draw it out of a hat, man. That's what you're
got to do.
Fucking
that is
doing.
What Hollywood. Yes. That is that.
Yeah. That's how you spice things up.
That is
over
like
there.
the reality TV version of. Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah. So Damien Leone's Bridges of Madison County.
You have tickets sold to me if Hollywood decides to do this.
That should be like a TV show or something. They just do like, your version of this.
Here are 5 of today's top filmmakers. What will they be making this season?
Do you think there's like always a bottom choice one in there? Like someone's like, fuck, Venom 4. God damn it, I really didn't want to do Venom 4.
Do you get to know what movies are in the hopper? Ooh. You're like, I wish I could get that. I'm hoping for that one. I'm hoping for that one. And you're like, I hope I don't get Venom 4. Not Venom 4. And you're like, Venom 4.
Fuck. And Ruben Fleischer is just over there like, oh, thank God I don't have to do the 4th one.
Yep. Wes Anderson had to do it. Best of luck. All right. So
again, we're saying the words that make me interested in filmmaking again.
We're gonna go around the table and tell you what we thought of Terrifier 2 and whether we would recommend it to
Colin,
you.
there was a post-credit sequence.
Oh,
there's a post-credits movie, short film.
I couldn't believe it.
In this, well, again,
I was so ready to leave.
We stopped. The credits start rolling. Michaela tried to go to the bathroom. We're like,
Igor,
Michaela,
stop me.
You have gone through this whole thing. You have to see whatever this is that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And so we are back in the insane asylum, the sanitarium, basically. We're in Smith's Grove. Chris Jericho is working at the front along with a nurse. It's not
a joke. It really is Chris Jericho. Yes,
it is Chris Jericho. Played. I think there's deleted scenes where he gets murdered, unless it happens in the third one. What?
Maybe I don't know.
Because I could have swore I've seen him as this character getting killed.
It probably
somewhere.
takes place like the third one probably picks up right where this one ends.
Probably that may be it, and I think that might be it.
And then it does the other Halloween too, where it's all in the hospital, huh? Yeah, it's just like Rob Zombie's Halloween too.
Terrifier 3 starts at the hospital.
Yeah,
and then what's her name wakes up from a dream
sequence, and then it's yep.
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But we are reintroduced to Vicky, who was the victim from the first movie, who has the facial. What happened to her in the first movie? Was that her?
He tore her face.
He tore her face off, and she's got what's left of it. Again, it's disturbing.
It's like a chimp attack on the face.
Yeah,
That's
it
what
really
looks
is.
like.
And the makeup's fantastic again.
It moves in a way that's really disturbing too.
Right. But so we stuck around to watch a possession scene, like from the movie Possession, where she basically rips out her loins, and it is revealed that she has birthed the head of Art the Clown. The head that got taken away from the little girl.
The head that's still alive and winking at people and like, oh no, Art is back. His head.
We'll see what grows from there.
Yeah.
It would be really funny if they Deadpooled it and he just starts growing back little baby arms.
I know. Now he's got to be reunited with his body or regrow a body. In Terrifier 3, we haven't seen it. So all these questions
Does that make you curious to watch Terrifier 3?
How do they get them back together
I'll go read the Wikipedia and be fine with that.
All right. Well, we will tell you whether you should watch Terrifier 2. But first, we're going to answer some of your mail. And in order to do that, we're going to have to summon our mailman. His name's Igor. Bring us the mail.
Masters, the mail. I've got the mail. So many letters. Our followers are rising.
Why, thank you, Igor.
Art the Clown wrote in. He said... which we appreciate.
I get that joke. Okay, so we should let the good folks at home know how they can participate on this interactive portion of our show by following along on Facebook.
Facebook.com/Saturday Night Freak Show.
Or X.
At Sat Freak Show.
Or by email.
Saturday Night Freak Show at yahoo.com.
Or on Instagram and Threads at Saturday Night Freak Show. About tonight's movie, Terrifier 2. Nick Siebel writes in and says, the Terrifier series is my jam. Wow. This is Damien Leone's baby, and he isn't selling out to Hollywood. He single-handedly created a new horror icon in a time where originality in Hollywood doesn't exist. Hollywood's only interested in remakes and legacy sequels. And with that being said, Art the Clown, like him or not, is a modern horror icon we needed. I mean, he has his own animatronic at Party City.
Needed, I don't know about that, but yeah, I think we have created another horror icon, or they have. I really do.
Going on the wall or on the Mount Rushmore, right there next to Ghostface.
Well,
Billy the
it's got another 30 years it has to go.
Yeah, it's got some running to do, but we'll say C team.
Amos Martinez says of the listener choice selections, I can't believe this actually won this year. This is not a franchise for everyone, and I'll admit the first movie is dog shit, but this and part 3 really won me over. I love the humor throughout, especially juxtaposed with the gore. I'm stoked for this episode.
That you write that like a person who suggested this movie and got real surprised that it got voted on.
Actually voted.
Like, holy shit, I didn't mean to do that, guys.
I know, I can't remember who all three of them were on.
I want names.
Yeah, but Terrifier 2.
I was worried there was a reality in which we have to watch all three.
All three Terrifier.
Yes.
That's just the listener choice. Terrifier 1, 2, 3.
No.
James Boyce.
And All Hallows Eve for the fourth one.
Right, yeah. James Boyce says, Terrifier 2 is a very charismatic movie that tells an incomprehensible whatever of a story. I loved it.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I think that's actually kind of a good way to put it. Yeah.
Nick Hammond says, I'm a big fan of this series, but it felt like that T2 ran a little long. I feel like they could have cut out the long, drawn-out dream segment. Art has sliced his way into movie slasher royalty and joined his place next to Jason, Michael, Freddy, etc.
I agree with everything except that don't ever call it T2 ever again. That is taken. And,
yeah.
we shall not besmirch that name.
Yeah, we don't need to have a wish T2.
Terminator 2. I even like the extended version of Terminator 2. I don't know.
Who does?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Neil Coppola says, well, you guys enjoy this one. I'm not a fan of over-the-top gore movies, and this is definitely one of them, to say the least. There's some good aspects to the movie, but overall not one of my favorites. Have fun with it, guys. If anything, it's entertaining. Travis Legler says, I've only seen parts of any Terrifier films. Maybe I would like them, but after the Saw movies and even the new Halloween films, the over-the-top gore stuff has kind of worn me out. Maybe I'm becoming a get-off-my-lawn guy when it comes to gore movies. I've lost suspension of disbelief, and I struggle just to enjoy them as crazy movies. I hope you all had a really good time with it. Michael Whitaker says, I can't say I'm a Terrifier fan, but I like horror, and I tend to avoid torture porn movies. I suppose they become this cultural phenomenon enough that I was going to have to see one to understand what the fuss was about. I didn't think it would be the freak show that would make me watch one of them. You know, see, here's the thing. So I'm not done with this yet, but what I'm picking up is that nobody likes Terrifier, kind of, and
I think they respect it.
How did it end up voted the third most?
Colin, it's because they wanted our reaction as people who have probably said on this podcast that gone, oh, Terrifier, I have groaned at Terrifier, probably.
Even though we never watched it.
That's going to be
right. Yeah. Just from a group of people who have said that, like, I don't feel like it's for me. And they're just like, well, guess what, guys?
You're going to watch it.
Now,
we're going to watch it.
Now I can be an informed hater.
There you go.
But are you a hater, Michaela?
Well, we're going to find out in a minute. Roll Tide Zoe says the dream sequence with the playhouse went on too long and made no sense, and neither did the climax when she went back there, but I still had a hell of a time watching this and love to show clips of him serving Halloween candy out of that woman's skull to my friends. I didn't get to watch part 3 yet, so I hope you don't spoil it in your review.
No,
you don't have to worry about that. We haven't
seen it either.
Mike Welch says, well, that was a wasted time. I'm just saying all those movies on the list, people seem to be picking mainstream hits while leaving the incredible Melting Man in the garbage can. That was on the, that was a suggestion.
We'll get there.
The boy with the Jason tattoo said, so I don't know if you guys feel the same, but don't you think the trailer gives off the vibes of a bigger budget remake of this movie you guys did back in 2017. That was Terror Track. He said there's even a scene of a baby carriage that was on fire. I don't know if that comment relates to Terrifier 2. I just am reading it because it's here.
Okay.
Last week we watched a movie called Child's Play, and RJ Skorenki says this is the start of a great franchise, in my opinion. My favorite serial killer next to Ghostface.
There you go.
Choice.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Well, thank you all for writing in. We appreciate it. Again, thank you for voting on suggesting and voting on these
movies. We love that you care, even if we didn't have the best time. We still love that you care.
We love that you care, or we love that you're vindictive, or we love that you want an opinion out of us. That's it.
You know what?
You want our opinion, and I very much appreciate it.
Exactly. It's better than apathy is the enemy, right?
Yes.
We want you to care whether it's hating or loving. Just care. So
So the question is, do we have apathy or strong feelings for Terrifier 2? We're going to find out starting with...
I don't want to pick anybody. Michaela, what did you think of Terrifier 2?
So we had like off mic discussion. We're gonna go into this with a good attitude because we have been haters on the mic before,
but we all agree that we're just like, all right, I'm gonna give it a shot.
Yeah,
I have not seen any of them. I'm gonna give this one a shot.
Right, and this is the best environment for us to do it in. So on that hand, I thank you because you forced us into do something we would not have done. Honestly, we would not. We have talked off mic about like no one wants to watch those. So I'm glad I got forced outside of my comfort zone because now I can be educated in my reasons for not liking this. But there is a lot of good things to like about it, and more than I expected. So it looks good, like both special effects and cinematography looks good. Art the Clown is a great character. I cannot deny it. I cannot deny how iconic he is. And how often do you see that happen in your lifetime? So that's pretty cool. Like I'm glad to be witnessing it in real time.
Yep.
And being part of a cultural moment is fun because we don't get a ton of those anymore. I love that about it. I love that it's an independent creator doing whatever the hell he wants. The rest of us be damned. I hate that I have to be a victim of it, but I'm glad that he has the ability to do it, you know?
And that it can be done.
Yeah. And that a lot of people love it. Like, man, the fan base for this is diehard, and I respect that too. I love it, and I love that it exists. It's just not for me.
Yep.
Like, I don't really have a ton of ill will towards it anymore. Now that I've seen it, I'm like, I kind of get like the extreme stuff. If you've never seen anything like that is really cool. And so I see the appeal of it, but I've been there, done that. We get it. So for me, there's just not enough here, and it's way too long. Maybe if it was 90 minutes, I would feel differently. I do like the sense of humor, though. If anything, I could use more humor and less family drama, less of the mom yelling at the kids. So many scenes that just repeat the same point done a lot that make it feel redundant. Because like I said, I hate being ahead of the script.
Right.
So that's very annoying as an audience member. But I also respect the guy for chasing his dream. So no, not going to recommend it because there's a very specific audience for this movie and it has found them. So I don't need to recommend it because you know if you like it or not. And I don't. So no, not going to recommend it. Sean, what'd you think?
Michaela, you made a lot of great points. Yeah, I'm glad. Curiosity. There's always a curiosity for stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say I'm glad you as listeners suggested this movie because there's probably no other way I was going to watch it on my own. So I'm glad you did that for me. Appreciate it. I think the character of Art the Clown has become iconic. Like, no matter how you feel about it. And I think for rightly so. Like that character, I think works really well. I think he's scary. I think the actor behind him is doing really good work for a character that can't talk and just has to express himself physically. He's doing it very well in all his mannerisms. I like that character. Scares me a little bit. This movie, and like we discussed, it just goes right beyond the stuff that I'm willing to. I can take it. I just don't want to.
Right.
And it goes right beyond that line where I'm just like you said, we get it. I get it. All right. We don't have to keep almost literally beating the dead horse. I get it. I can't. Oh man, there's a lot of good stuff in this. Michaela, you said your summary is pretty great because there's a lot of stuff I think to like about this.
I didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to.
That's the
be
thing.
honest.
I thought beforehand that it was just like I'm probably going to hate this movie. I don't hate it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hate it at all. But it just depends on how you feel about splatter movies, and this is splatter. And it is a lot of it. And it gets it's like an action movie that is only action. It's like a Michael Bay film. At a certain point, I'm just like, I'm bored because it's just what I'm seeing doesn't necessarily mean anything. Yeah, you're killing someone or you're blowing up a building, but for what purpose? And I think, and I think that's kind of mostly what this movie is. There's some obvious story beats that I think, like we said, with the sword and the magic and everything, the story beats that could be developed and done better. It is far too long. Again, I wonder if he edited part 3. Probably did. Get a different editor, my friend. I think you need to cut things that you don't want to cut. But I'm very surprised coming out of this that I'm not mad at this movie. Yeah. And as far as recommending it, and I think Michaela said it, I was just like, there's no one, you'd have to know someone real well to recommend watching Terrifier 2
yes.
or any of this series, I think. So what I'm gonna say is that I am interested in watching Terrifier 3. Curiosity. I can't help it. Curiosity may be a detriment to me. It killed the cat. I think that's me. I'm curious about Terrifier 3, and because of the questions we raised here, does it continue to be supernatural? Is there more? I'm probably going to be disappointed, but is there more of a story going into the third one?
I'm going to be really excited to hear about
punishment.
it through you. I can't wait till next week I hear about Terrifier 3.
God damn it, I'm a glutton for fucking punishment.
See, I don't have to watch it. He'll tell me all about it.
I mean, you're very likely right, Michaela. So while I'm not going to recommend it, because I think, the audience who wants to watch this movie, it has found, and they are watching it, as we have seen as these movies continue to be released and more people watch them and it makes more and more money. Again, we are living through that moment. So it is finding its audience. Man, there's a movie in there that I could recommend, but it's not there. So I'm not going to recommend it, but I'm interested in the series. I don't know. I feel disappointed in myself for getting to that point once we got here. I don't know. I have very conflicting feelings about this, considering I was surprised that I didn't hate it coming out of it. So yeah, I'm not going to recommend it to you, dear Brailer, just because it just does. We got it. So if you like splatter, you already know that you're going to watch this movie. And I don't want to watch this one again. I don't know if I'll watch the third one unless someone forces me to. I don't know. I'm very confused about this whole thing. So ultimately, I won't recommend Terrifier 2, but I understand why people watch it and like it.
I just read the first sentence of the plot synopsis for the third one, and it was so stupid.
Well, what'd it say? What'd it say?
Well, you can't, in case.
I can't. It'd be a spoiler.
Okay, all right. Well, then.
Sean, when we go home, you and I will separately read the Wikipedia article and then talk about it.
Okay, all right. Fair enough.
Because now I'm going to read the rest of it.
Yeah. So not a recommendation, but I understand. So, and I think that's the best place I can get with this. So there you go. Colin, what did you think of Terrifier 2?
I think I'm going to watch Terrifier 3.
I think I'm going to watch it.
Okay, so yeah.
Tough, right?
It's weird because of how I've gotten here to this one.
You might have the more complex.
Yeah, because I've seen all these, and it's like, well, this one I had a complex because I had seen the first one, didn't really care for it,
sure,
or Terrifier, didn't like All Hallows Eve, which I saw after, and then and like was wanting to get out of it, and then I fucking started I think I started watching this because there was this hubbub about Terrifier. So I started watching. I'm like, I'm a horror fan. It's like, let's see what's going on. And about halfway through it, I'm like, this has no characters. The writing is terrible. The scenes go on interminably. The gore is good, but I've seen that before. But again, that's my problem. I've seen it before.
Right.
And then, so I actually quit watching it. I turned it off. And then like 6 months later, the Terrifier 3 is coming out or whatever. Terrifier 3 is coming out. And there's this like, again, it's like breaking box office records. And I'm like, am I fucking missing? So I finished Terrifier 2, right? And now I've seen it again.
Colin's seen it multiple times.
So I've seen it twice. I said 3 times before. In 3 different viewings, I've watched the movie twice. And I guess what I'm taking out of it, I'm curious to see Terrifier 3 because Damien Leone's got a bigger budget. He had time to, realize what worked and didn't out of the, so you're like, okay, well, I'm curious to see if
what did he learn? What is he going to apply?
Is there an evolution of the filmmaker? Like, is Terrifier 3 the more self-actualized version? This one feels like a dry run. The first one, Terrifier, felt like, again, a dry run for this one could be a dry run for the third one, so I guess that
dry runs.
And I'm not offended by the cruelty and the gore in it because again, I think, Art the Clown, there is like a certain, it doesn't feel realistic, I guess at all. It's like,
it's like a cartoon.
Yeah. And the actors, it's like, I know they're supposed to be wailing in pain, but you're aware that it's like, okay, this is this is all make-believe, made up stuff. And, because they want to pull it. So it's like, I'm divorced from the reality of, that's what I'm saying. It's not like seeing this from like a sadistic point of view.
Right.
This is like, okay, it's splatter, creative effects.
It's like Kevin Pollak,
how well you can pull off the
paint at a
Well, it's like they're magic tricks, right? I mean, that's what you get into. It's the Tom Savini school of, I'm sure Tom Savini is like, Damien Leone's idol. It's like, I'm going to pull off stuff, make up illusions like Tom Savini did it.
Yep.
And I think he's, some of them, they're a lot better than you would give credit for. I think, originally, and I don't know, he's pulling them off, and I haven't seen, I think that's what also the appeal of it. You haven't seen practical gore effects on this scale, really in films that go to the theater, or like, I don't know, anything like that is the focus of, just practical on-screen gore.
Yep.
But would I recommend Terrifier 2 to you, having seen it now twice? I'm like, I mean, yes, I'm struck by the same things that I think you both have said. It's like, it's, the compositions are, they're pretty to look at. The music is got like a thump to it. I kind of like it. Art the Clown has an appeal. I recognize that. The gore scenes are well done, but it's like in between there, it is fucking lethally dull because, as I said, it's all plot. There's no story. or it's all story and no plot, and it has no characters at all. Like, I don't know anything about any of these people except their stock types, you know, and I'm not even sure by the end of it. They're like, and she's a Valkyrie from like another dimension that is able, has his magic sword and fights the evil, you know, creature. Maybe in the third one they, you know, get into that a little more, and it then you're like, oh, there's the one.
Right.
Terrifier 3. So no, I guess I wouldn't recommend Terrifier 2 to you, but I think also the caveat is like I've seen a lot of splatter, you know, Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Great splatter. Like there's splatter moments in that movie that maybe defined the splatter genre, you know, originally. And but that's a movie that's great. I was going to say in spite of it, but including, you know, that's a great film that has splatter in it. Lucio Fulci stuff. I like that stuff. But again, like he's just doing things to like, he pushes in his gore because he's like, ugh, gross. And I guess that's what this is doing. Those movies are batshit crazy. Don't make any sense. And I love those. So that's why I'm sitting there going like, can I really rail on this movie?
I don't think we can.
I didn't hate it, but I've seen better.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, I'm saying that it's not necessarily something that you should go seek out. But who knows? Terrifier 3 might be the one. I will also, like Sean, watch Terrifier 3. So there you go. I guess it's we're all saying...
what a complicated review.
Yeah, it's like, it's not horrible, but it's not quite there. It's not baked yet. It's not ready to come out of the oven. We need another one to... Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. And Art the Clown, yeah, he's made his mark. So there you go.
I can see the NECA figures from here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you again for sticking with us this long. And now, next week, we're going to watch a movie that's chosen by
you.
The less
enthusiasm.
What do you got? Oh, God. All right.
All right, so we're going something of a newer vintage. The listeners want us to review a movie that I'm sure you're going to be hearing a lot about, like right now and in this current time frame, is a movie called The Substance.
Back-to-back gross outs.
I was going to say I would give the woo that Michaela did, but that's just a lot of gross out.
You're just exhausted from Terrifier.
Right. It'll build back up over the week. You're right. Right.
Well,
so,
this is going to be...
this is our number one that we all picked in
all four of us.
So we've all seen this before. So this is my second watch. So
this will be my
our end of the year episode. We all picked it as the best movie of 2024. So that kind of is a bias going in. But now we get to drill down into the themes of...
And now I'm very curious what our number one movie is. But we'll get there. This is number 2. What's number 1?
Mm-hmm. Right. Wow. So we hope
Terrifier 3. Fuck.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you off the hook. It is not Terrifier 3.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, so we hope you'll join us for The Substance next week. And until then, ladies and germs, the basement is going dark.